The baseball conversation is pretty good, but we're going to start appropriately enough with the story of the NFL because the NFL is bigger than baseball, and play the hits, my man. So that was the site, Arrowhead, the final game in Week 5 on the NFL card, the reigning back-to-back champs in action. You had the Fox refugees, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, who sold their souls, took that NIL money. They had the call. Taylor Swift was in the hizzy. She was there hanging out. I guess they have to continue their relationship. They cannot break up yet because of the stories that were on the internet. Anyway, if you didn't watch, perhaps you missed it. We watched flipping back and forth between the baseball activity in the Bronx. Patrick Mahomes. Mahomie. How did he do? Well, Mahomes working his magic yet again, a ragtag roster of playmakers. Although you would not know it by the results. Mahomes, 331 yards through the air. Travis Kelce had a game-high 9 catches for 70 yards. Kareem Hunt was 27 carries for 102 yards on the ground and also a touchdown. So if you were in a coma for a few years, you'd say, oh, that's the same old Chiefs. You had Mahomes, and you had the Kelce, and you had Kareem Hunt, and Andy Reid's on the sidelines. Same old, same old, same old. But if you've listened to this show at all over the years, you know that one of the great mantras that we have is the better stories in the losing locker room. And so that is where we will begin. How have things changed for Dennis Allen and the Saints, who now find themselves on the wrong side of 500 through 5 weeks of the NFL season? So how have things changed for Dennis Allen and the Saints? I've got Agua, Magic 8 Ball, and Jedi. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to pray because at this point the Saints need rosary beads the way things are going. So, we'd like to welcome the New Orleans football team to a place we call Realityville. It's a little village, Realityville, also on the wrong side of the tracks. Now, I'm old enough, I don't know about you, but I'm old enough to remember when the Saints were the talk of the town. They had the sizzle reel, and when they put their sizzle reel together at the end of the year, and they make the highlight film for social media of what happened here in 2024, I believe they will focus on the win against Carolina and the win against Dallas, and then fade to black, because that appears to be what has happened here to the Saints. Stories about this being the start of greatness. I read an article. I remember reading this online. I laughed at it at the time. I said, there's no way this can be true, but people were writing this nonsense that Dennis Allen had changed his entire career arc with that win over the Dallas Cowboys. I remember he did some interviews going around saying, well, all this was, he's trying to downplay everything because even he knew. Right, even he knew. Turns out that the quick start was just that, a false start, if you will, here. And now uphill in need of oxygen. The New Orleans Saints, false openings, like you see a movie, gets that good opening scene, and then you're eating your popcorn, you're like, it's going to be a great movie. And then you're like, oh, man, that was terrible. I mean, got off to a good start, but it was brutal. Or it's like a relationship. We have a great first date. You're all excited, and then after that, it's like, boy, this person's got BO, and they're terrible. Anyway, so here's the deal for the Saints. It's my theory is agua, as in water seeks its own level, and extreme outcomes are followed by more moderate ones, and these are the real Saints. These are them. That's Realityville for the Saints. They have arrived. They got a chump at quarterback, but the most disheartening thing for me, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I didn't pick the Saints on the TV show to cover the spread. I didn't do it because of the quarterback. We'll get to him in a second. The reason I did it was because I believed that they had something special defensively. I didn't think that that was fake. I now have changed my position. They're phony. They're frauds. I was bamboozled by the New Orleans defense. Not up to the challenge. It's a measuring stick. Kansas City, a measuring stick, even without all of the playmakers. The fact that that Chiefs team was able to go out there and run 80 plays on offense, 80. They had 28 first downs almost 500 yards of offense. Let me repeat that for those of you a little slow in the back of the room. The New Orleans Saints defense that fancied themselves as a top 5 defense in the NFL allowed 460 yards to a bunch of old geezers. And they had extra time to prepare. Emasculating, embarrassing are words that I would use. All right, now, let's get to the meat of the matter here. Don't bury the lead, my man. All right. So what the heck happened to Derek Carr? So, again, this goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the season. Derek Carr, he had figured something out, new hotshot play caller, offensive coordinator, a lot of movement, a lot of people jealous of what they had in New Orleans. All of a sudden, they had unlocked the code for Derek Carr. Okay. Well, much like the movie Cinderella, the glass slipper has turned back into a crappy shoe. And that's Derek Carr. Carr had an out-of-body experience for a couple of weeks, but now he's back in his body, and he is the quarterback that has a software bug, right? It's a software with a glitch in it, sporadic malfunction, which is a problem. One of the cars we have, the Mallermobile, there's a sporadic malfunction in the electric wiring, and every time we have taken it to get repaired, they do not recreate the problem. And then as soon as we take the car away, the problem returns. That's Derek Carr in a nutshell. It is, right? And so we asked the Magic 8 Ball. We said, hey, almighty, all-powerful Magic 8 Ball, we need your guidance. What does the outlook look like for Derek Carr the rest of the year? And the Magic 8 Ball said, outlook not so good, is what the Magic 8 Ball said. Now, he did leave the game with an injury, so some of you will give him an alibi, but before he left the game with injury, Derek Carr sucked at a time you can't not suck. Oh, he is terrible. And this continues a trend. The last 3 weeks since that 2-0 start for the New Orleans football team, Derek Carr, last 3 games, averaging 6.1 yards per pass attempt. 7 is average. 6.1 yards per attempt. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of 81.1, like a college radio station. 81.1 on the FM dial. That's Derek Carr. So much for Clint Kubiak having the secret code. The offensive coordinator does not. And New Orleans, they have the Buccaneers up ahead, and then also the Broncos and the Chargers. Now, the Broncos have a top-notch defense. I'm not convinced Bo Nix is great, but their defense has been playing well. Chargers will be good defensively. So the Saints, that's looking like 3 losses. They're going to be sitting here at 2-6. 2-6 for New Orleans. Does anyone disagree with that? Good luck. All right, now last word here. Let's go to the winning locker room. How do you explain Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' performance here? 460 yards of offense. 460 against supposedly a good defensive team. When I say it's business as usual, that's my thought. I jogged down. Business as usual with the unusual. Say what? Yeah, undermanned, but it doesn't matter. Now, it will matter at some point because they will play a team that's got guts and guile and moxie that doesn't roll over and play dead like the suckbag Saints. There will be an opponent down the line that has machismo and will not play gutless football like the New Orleans Saints. Not that I'm upset. But here's the thing about the Chiefs. On this night, it was a special pop-up promotional event at Arrowhead Stadium. And I determined, and I know this, look at the schedule closely, it was an old-timers night. Yeah, Andy Reid out there using Jedi mind tricks on the sidelines, insane to the membrane. How about Kareem Hunt? Unemployed. The guy was drinking cocktails when the season began. He was on a beach somewhere and born again. 100-plus yards rushing. Touchdown run. How about Taylor Swift's boy toy, Travis Kelce? He was terrible for several weeks, and People say, he's really good. Well, he wasn't very good. Now he's back to being effective. But he sucked for a couple weeks. But the most stunning, the most mind-bending, and the thing that you cannot handicap when you look at these games, and it's very maddening when you look at the handicapping situation. Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju Smith-Schuster left for dead with the New England Patriots. He turns back time, the space-time continuum, on Monday night. 7 catches on 8 targets for 130 yards. 130, that is his highest yardage output since prior to the pandemic. You got to go all the way back to January of 2020, before the world went insane and people were hoarding toilet paper and water and people wearing odd masks and things like that. That's the last time Juju Smith-Schuster played like a real NFL receiver. But there he was against the supposedly good New Orleans Saints. Very impressive by the Saints defense. But the Andy Reid and company just keep rolling along. They are 5-0, along with the Vikings, the only unbeaten teams in the NFL. You start peeking ahead. You're like, when are they going to lose? Well, who's going to beat them? They've already played the teams early on you thought were going to knock them off. Now, normally you lose a divisional game somewhere along the way. So you say, well, they're going to lose somewhere in the division because that normally happens. But up ahead, a bye week. Now, you can lose the bye week if somebody gets arrested. You lose the bye week, or somebody gets hurt. Bye week loss. But aside from that, looking around, after the bye week, they got the Niners. The Niners can't even beat the Cardinals at home. The game is in the Bay Area. But advantage Chiefs. You got the Raiders at Arrowhead, Buccaneers, Broncos, and Bills. Does that sound like a loss? Maybe the Niners? Maybe. Just maybe. Unlikely the way they played, though.